perfect. Well, I think we're here on time, and our honored guests are here, so I'd like to, I think we can begin. So I'd like to welcome everyone, all of you who are with us. I'd like to welcome the entire Kligman family, those of you who are here, Mr. Mark Kligman and Elie and Ari. It could be that there's other members of the family who may either be with us now or joining us, and we welcome all of you, both from near and far, to the special Nusach program. I'd like to thank Mike Minoff, who's the head of our Israel committee, who chairs the program and organizes. Mike, wave to everyone. Mike and the gang over there, wave to us. There's Mike over there. So we thank Mike and his family very much for helping to organize this program. Also would like to thank Rabbi Avi Oken, our assistant rabbi, who's with us. Rabbi Oken, if you'll wave to everyone so everybody can see you. And Rabbi Oken will be sharing some words at the end as well. My name is Rabbi Zev Spason, for those of you who haven't yet had the pleasure of meeting, and Elie and family, it's really wonderful to have you with us, and it's a great exclusive, and it's a great honor to have you with us. I think many of you know Elie's story, and we're looking forward to hearing Elie and his father Mark tell a little bit about not only Elie's baseball journey, but more significantly for, I'm sure, the Kligman family, Elie and his family's Jewish journey, because ultimately isn't that what it is that's truly important? Although we can't diminish the importance of baseball. And in fact, Elie, I'm sure you know that baseball is truly a Jewish sport. You know that, right? I mean, there are many different sources. So, for example, we find in Genesis, it says to start Genesis in the big inning, right? You know that, right? Right. You know,
we've never heard that before.
Oh, come on. Well, Adam got thrown out at home, right? You ever hear that one? Adam got thrown at home. You know, Rebecca walked with the pitcher. You know, so Torah is filled with baseball references. So there's a lot of connections. But on a more serious note, before I turn the floor over to Mark and to Elie, we're going to share with us Elie's journey, a top-notch, all-star quality baseball player who, most significantly from our point of view, and I know from the Kligman's point of view, are fully devoted, committed, observant Jews. It's not coincidental, perhaps, that the Kligmans are with us this evening as we embark upon the study of the new book of the Torah, a Sefer Vayikra, known in English as Leviticus. And although many individuals describe the various korbanot, the various sacrifices that were brought and are described in the book of Leviticus, as Jews, we don't refer to them as sacrifices. We refer to them as offerings. And the concept behind the entire book of Leviticus, and in fact, really behind all of that which it is that we do in Judaism, is that if a person really gets what it means to be a committed Jew, they understand that Judaism isn't something that we make sacrifices for. Judaism isn't something that we feel that we have to do, but Judaism is something that we get to do. And in reading about Elie's story and Elie's family's story and seeing the observance of Shabbos and the observance of Kashrut and living a fully dedicated life within the confines of full Jewish observance, Elie and his family exude the feeling that Judaism is something that they get to do, that it's a privilege and a pleasure. Well, it's a pleasure and a privilege to have both you, Mark, and your family, your wonderful sons, and perhaps other members of the family are here as well. So I turn the microphone, so to speak, over to either you or Mark or to Elie to begin to tell us something about your story. So take it away. You can decide who's going to throw out the first pitch. Go ahead.
Sure. My wife, Laura or Leah, is also on the call.
Oh, hi, Laura.
So the Ashes Chayil has joined us, and my daughter Tova, I don't know if she's on here. We'll be logging on soon. She and Elie are twins. Oh. So, but in any event, this is a unique situation for us because most of the interviews that Elie's been doing is just been Elie or the requests, so me for some of them, just because of my connection to the baseball business. And as his coach and as a baseball agent. But this is neat because really you guys are hitting the mark in the invitation for the family, because we're all in this together. You know, when we have to be out for a doubleheader for 9 hours, my wonderful wife is preparing all of our huge food that we have to take with us while others are going to In-N-Out Burger in between games, and all the other places here that people could eat at. We can't really do that so much where we are. So, and my daughter Tova, who swims also competitively for the high school and has gotten her own awards, she's had to miss meets that have been on Shabbos. And of course, Ari is here as well, and he's been in the same boat as Elie, missing games and rushing out before Shabbos, after Shabbos. And this is neat because beginning last year, the boys now are close enough in age and ability. Ari is a junior, and now Ellie's a senior. That in the last year, they've been playing together on the same team, and that's been super fun because I get a lot of pride out of that, seeing Ari pitch to Elie and then catch him, and Ari plays second base and Elie shortstop, and see him turn a double play. So that's super fun for me. But I think in terms of beyond having the family here, probably the best way to go, Rabbi, is just ask whatever foundational questions that you'd like to have us address. Myself, my wife, or Ari, or Tova's here. She's with my wife. Say hi, Tova. Anyway, so that's probably the best way to go, and then we'll kind of have everyone participate.
Okay, well, maybe if I could begin by asking the first question, throwing out the first ball to Elie. Elie, I'd like to ask maybe if you could introduce yourself to the group and tell us about your career. I believe that you're a senior, and some of the challenges that you face as an observant Jew, as an Orthodox or an observant Jew in playing baseball, some of the funny moments, some of the challenging moments, and how you negotiate both of those worlds, the world of being a top-notch baseball player on the verge of hopefully being able to gain a Division I scholarship to a good baseball team, a good college that has a good team, and yet maintaining a very meticulous observance of Judaism. So Elie, we'd love to hear from you.
All right, so hi, I'm Elie Kligman, and I've been playing baseball my entire life, really, since I could pick up a baseball. And ever since I've started playing in leagues, I've had to balance the Shabbos and playing baseball. And one thing I've learned about people helping you out with game times and moving games up and back for Shabbos is that being strong in your convictions of saying, I'm not going to play on Shabbos, I'm not going to play on holidays, and like all that kind of stuff, they'll really help you out. So I think my experience has been really positive. People have always been really helpful in changing game times and moving games up or back. And I think it's really been awesome for me and my brother and my father to experience all of that. So I would say the experience has been positive, and it's continuing to be positive. And hopefully this positive experience can continue onto college baseball.
Mark and Laura. Hi, Laura. I'd like to ask you about your family's Jewish journey from some of the articles that I've read, and I'm not asking about anything that hasn't been publicized. My understanding is that the Kligman family was not originally as Jewishly committed as you are now. So how did that develop? What were the connections, and how did you feel as your children began to become involved in sports and they began to evolve these various challenges that you had as an observant family, as a growing observant family?
Can you see?
I'll kick that to my wife to start that off.
Okay.
I'm
I'm a convert. I converted to Judaism
There's the lamp.
years ago. And Moshe, around the same time, grew up in a Reform conservative background. And while he was on campus at Tulane Law School, he became involved with the Chabad there. They had a very vibrant Friday night program. So what better way to get college kids over than free food? So so kind of together we grew in our observance. By the time we got married, we were both Shomer Shabbos, keeping kosher and all of those things. So by the time we had children, that was all set. And so the kids have never been anything but. They haven't had to, everyone grows in their own way, but as far as that goes. So that's sort of a general, the upshot of it.
Okay, I'll mention, by the way, that anyone who has a question that they would like to ask to any members of the Kligman family, please feel free to type them in the chat box. And if anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask verbally, perhaps a little bit later, we'll be able to take those, but feel free to do so. Las Vegas, that is not the typical destination that many would think of for an observant family. So being involved in sports and observance. So what led you to Las Vegas, and how is the Jewish community accept the observance in baseball and all of the other things? It's not necessarily known as the hub of observant life like a New York, like of course like a St. Louis, like a New York, a St. Louis, a Chicago. So at what point did you move to Las Vegas, and what do the other folks in the Jewish community there think about your commitment to observance and Ellie's playing baseball?
Well, for us, the journey went for myself, I was born in Philadelphia, and then I grew up in Stamford, Connecticut. And then I went to college in Baltimore, and then Leah and I met each other in Tulane Law School. And then we started off in San Diego, and we were there for about 17 and a half years. And San Diego is a pretty populous American city and has a lot of Jews there. But interestingly enough, and I don't know if it's just because it's the better weather, the less polluted sister of Los Angeles, but there just isn't a lot of sustainable Jewish, how should I say, there's plenty of synagogues, and there's plenty of long running, tenured rabbis and other things, but kosher restaurants kind of came and went, and never was really so sustainable. They have their day schools, but not much of a high school. So anyway, long story short, we were looking around after being there for about 17 and a half years, as my baseball players were starting to really do a lot of stuff on the field, and I anticipated one of them was going to make some good money. And that was about the same time that California decided to increase all of their taxes from like 9.3% to the upper echelons of 12.3%, and kind of maybe really kicked in this continuous, maybe some would call spiral down for California in many ways. The exodus from California is intensified even much more since we left. So we were just looking for maybe like a non-income tax state, maybe a less expensive cost of living than San Diego. And I think we were looking for that, and we didn't really expect that the Jewish community was going to be so incredible here. There's like 11 kosher restaurants. It's a huge hub because of all the people that come through for conventions, etc. And it's become, since we moved here in 2013, and even a little bit before that, became known for folks who needed to get out of New York City, out of Los Angeles, much higher rent areas, and maybe young couples who needed to find a place with other young couples where it would be affordable. And so we stumbled, so to speak. I mean, everything's by a shuffle this, but we came upon Las Vegas, and they have beautiful day schools, and we came to this beautiful Chabad house in Summerlin, which was built not too many years earlier, and we found that it was just a wonderful, lovely community. So in terms of the folks in our shul, they're really supportive. We've got a lot of baseball fans. Rabbi Metal, who's been mentioned in a lot of articles, runs the youth program. He comes to the high school games and cheers us on. We even got him a jersey that says Rally Rabbi on the back. And our head coach, who's not Jewish, who never in a million years thought that these religious Hasidic Jews were going to roll on to his field. I mean, I'm not lying to you, where he takes home Jewish books and he reads them like biographies. It's really incredible. He sees someone who's Jewish wherever he goes. And of course, he runs over and says, "Do you know the Kligmans? And I know about this, and I know about the Sabbath." And he's really fantastic. So the folks on the baseball team, the non-Jews and stuff, have all been really, really supportive. And we have a lot of people from the synagogue that come out to the high school games, which is just down the corner. So that's kind of fun. But we really fell into an area of Las Vegas where the Jewish life was on the uptick, and also the baseball life. Many people who are listening know about Bryce Harper and Chris Bryant and Joey Gallo and all these big leaguers who come from Las Vegas if they're baseball fans. So the Las Vegas baseball scene really kind of took off. And so, and for us personally, we never really left our Southern California roots when it comes to baseball, because the boys also play for a travel ball team, one of the best in the country, that's based out of Southern California. So it all was really
Sounds like it's worked out great. It's wonderful to hear about the vibrancy of your community. 11 kosher restaurants. That's almost as many as we have here in St. Louis. I'm impressed. Elie, it looks like several questions have been directed your way. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the chat box, Elie, but maybe working sequentially. One of the questions is, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go to college? What is your dream team? And I'd be interested, as I think everyone else would be, in knowing why the particular college that you have on your radar is the one that you choose, as well as your favorite team. Maybe you could toss in over there an answer to the question, what is the speed of your fastball? So Elie, go ahead.
Ellie, did you hear all that? Because you got knocked off, right?
Oh, okay. Elie, are you with us?
I just saw he's back in. Ari, you answer those questions while he's getting ready. They're in the chat. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Ari, everybody. So I guess let's go like top to bottom. Was my
You guys
team
hear
beat
me?
draft?
I got really choppy.
Yeah, hi, Elie. I think we can see you, but either Ari or Elie, go ahead. Elie, I asked the questions that were posted in the chat. What college would you like to go to? What's your dream team? And why those particular colleges and teams, and the speed of your fastball?
But hold on one sec, Al. We're gonna let
So colleges.
Ellie, hold on one sec. We're gonna let
Oh.
Ari answer, then we're gonna kick it to you. Go ahead.
All right.
Okay, so as far as dream teams in the MLB and college, I don't really have one specifically. My favorite team to like just personally is the Giants, but again, any team that would give me a shot or college that would give me a scholarship, I would have a good situation there. I'd be happy to go to. Speed of my fastball, I sit like low to mid 80s, so not overpowering anyone, but use other stuff to be effective. So
He's only 16. He's only 16. We got time.
Okay, Ari, would you consider the St. Louis Cardinals? That's the question we want to know.
I would love to go to the Cardinals.
All right, Ellie, can you see those questions in the chat?
I cannot.
Well, you have to click the little thing that says chat. Oh, you know what? They might have got knocked off if you got knocked off.
Yeah, I got kicked out, so I don't know.
So first question is, what is your dream team to be
colleges-
drafted by?
Oh, dream team to get drafted to? I don't know if I have one specific, but it would probably be either a New York team, maybe the Dodgers. You know, I'm from San Diego, so maybe the Padres. But really, any team that would draft, I would be fine with.
All right, the next question in the chat, Ellie, if you can't see it, was well, it's two-part actually. Where do you want to go to college? And then the second one is, what is the speed of your fastball?
I guess I don't really say a specific college, but again, whatever college is the best fit for me is just the one I'm going to want to go to. Speed of my fastball, I was up to 88 on my second outing. I don't really know where I'm going to be when I'm in full pitching shape, but right now it was 88, so hopefully it'll be a little higher as I get into pitching shape.
Last question in the chat is, what's your favorite baseball team?
What?
Last question in the chat is, what is your favorite baseball team?
Baseball team?
Yeah.
It's all choppy. I can't say anything.
What's your favorite baseball team?
Oh, Philadelphia Phillies.
All right, back to you, Rabbi.
Okay. So Elie, and this is a question to you, I think Mark and Laura as well, whether you've had any formal interviews with any colleges and any programs and coaches, or even informally, what are some of the considerations that you've seen them express? How welcoming and open have college programs either been, or perhaps not, in the consideration of accommodating someone who would be Sabbath observant Shomer Shabbos?
So the colleges that I've been talking to, or like currently I'm talking to, they're all accommodating and they're gonna try to help me as much as they can. I would say some of the biggest considerations are obviously games on Shabbos, food and travel. A lot of times the traveling could happen on Shabbos. In terms of kosher food, sometimes they would just go out to eat, so that is always a consideration. And obviously the game times, moving games back on a Friday or up on a Shabbos to Saturday night would make it able for me to play. So the change wouldn't have to be full days; it would just have to be a couple hours. But those are still considerations that need to be taken into account.
And look, I mean, the one thing to bear in mind here is that while we've had a lot of help along the way to try to maximize Ari and Ellie's baseball situation, we understand that we're coming into a world that's running on its own timetable. And so if it can work and our coach is going to be motivated enough with the athletic director and president of the university to reach out to other folks to try to maneuver game time so that he can make them, well, then that's fantastic. But we're also pretty mindful that it may be a bit of a challenge for various reasons. Certain conferences are dictated by the schedule with ESPN, and so that may have to get signed off on a higher level. Elie may have to be more of a hybrid type of player in college. Maybe somebody who's pitches and hits a little bit and plays the infield a little bit and kind of does a little bit of everything. We think that Ari is probably more towards the pitching track, and so that becomes a little bit easier. If you're a position player in college, it becomes more challenging. The school that we hope to go to, which we really don't want to say yet, the coach's attitude is, look, if you're going to be our starting second baseman, if you're going to be our starting catcher, we're going to figure a way to change the games. And so our attitude and our mantra is, why not? Right? We've come this far with making it work at the travel ball level, at the high school level, at the elite prospect level. So why can't we keep going? And one thing we always say too is, you know, there's no reason to think that not everything is possible. Everything is possible. And for us, we don't feel a need to do anything differently because no one's been able to tell us why we should put God second, right? So if we come from the idea that the whole world is created by Hashem and everything that moves is from Hashem and that everything that exists at every moment is because Hashem is sustaining the world, and that ultimately it's for the good, then how can you really reason from any other perspective but for what I'm doing is what I'm doing, and I'm doing the mitzvahs, and everything else kind of has to fit into it. If it doesn't, then it wasn't meant to be.
Okay. Well, very inspiring answer. Thank you, Mark. I'd like to ask a question to the entire Kligman family and any of you, including your daughter Tova. Is your name Tova? Tova, hi Tova. I didn't get a chance to say hello to you. Nice to have you here as well. I'm interested to know what an amazing family like yours, in an amazing family like yours, who are your role models? I'm interested in knowing if there are any particular Jewish sports figures who are role models of yours. And in general, who are the type of people that are spoken about in the Kligman household as role models, whether certainly not necessarily sports figures, but who do you talk about as the great role models that have inspired you in both your professional and your Jewish careers?
Let's have Tova answer that.
I would say I don't have anyone, famous or well-known that I would tell you. It would be close personal friends of ours who have been kind of with us along the way as we grew in our observance, who really had strong influence and all the things that we learned along the way. I'd say it's not so, I couldn't tell you some famous rabbi or sports figure. I would say there's a few people that we're still very close to in our lives who I think probably are role models just in terms of commitment to Judaism, particularly with regard to how it affects the family life, how you run your family, having guests in your home, that type of thing, your values, your attitudes. That's kind of it. I personally don't follow sports enough to have sports role models myself, but except for the ones that are in my house.
Okay. Those are your three favorite sports players.
Yeah.
Elie, Ari, and Laura. Are there anyone who comes to mind, whether they be sports figures or otherwise, who you would say that are your role models that you pattern yourselves after?
I would say, obviously, Sandy Koufax. He didn't play on Yom Kippur, obviously, and me and my brother are both looking to take that one step further by not playing on Shabbos and holidays.
And I think the person who keeps coming up in a lot of the conversations is Tamir Goodman. And Tamir is relevant because Tamir, as far as I can tell from my research, is the only Division I basketball player who did not play basketball on Shabbos. There were a couple others. One who played, I think his name was Lieberman. He played at Northwestern and Tulane. And then there's another one, a female basketball player that I think played at Toledo. Those are the only ones that I've been able to find, but they had a heter to play, where they made the choice to play on Shabbos. So we actually found Tamir. Social media is magnificent. You just send a direct message, introduce yourself, and hopefully you've got enough of a credential that they text back. And Tamir is fantastic, and he gave us a few minutes of his time a few months ago I thought that that was illustrative for the boys. Ari and Elie were on the call. Tamir is in Israel and he's still doing his passion of teaching and coaching and working in basketball. But Tamir told us some really interesting things. And maybe I'll kick it over to Ari and Elie to kind of maybe recite for the group some of those things that really were meaningful to you guys from the conversation.
I would say one of the biggest things that he told us about was the coaches and the culture of the program. Having a coach that's going to be wanting to help you and change games and get you to be able to play is really the biggest part in making the experience a good experience. If you have a coach that is not willing to do that, then you're never going to play and the games are going to be on Shabbos. And the culture of the program, obviously with the teammates and the coaches and the university, just having a good culture that's going to be supportive for what you believe and what you're going to do is really important.
Yeah, Tamir told us that at the end of practice on Friday afternoon before Shabbos, instead of saying, 1, 2, 3, I forget whatever Towson State's mascot is, they would say 1, 2, 3, Shabbat Shalom. And they were happy that they would be able to go out Friday night, the other players, because they had an earlier practice on Friday for Tamir to attend. And he told us that a lot of the players would come by his dorm room and spend Shabbos with him and stuff. And he wanted to prove that it could be done. And so he's very inspirational to us because he's the only person we can point to who's ever really done it. I think that for me was a role model because and it was like 22 years ago, so it's been some time before anyone's really given this a shot.
He was referred to as the Jewish Jordan, if I remember correctly, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid in the centerfold of the Sports Illustrated.
Elie and family, we have a couple of questions here in the chat box. It looks like we have a recruiter who's here from Yeshiva University. I didn't know that they found out about our talk. So someone's asking the question, Elie, if you would consider YU. And another question is, have you ever encountered any anti-Semitism as a result of your religious beliefs?
I don't know if I would consider Yeshiva University to play baseball. I think I'm going to go more the Division I route. But in terms of the anti-Semitism, I have never experienced it. All the players and coaches that I've been around have been really supportive and helpful, and they're always asking questions about what you can and can't do on Shabbos and holidays and stuff like that. So I've never really experienced anti-Semitism.
And since YU came up, I'll be the bragging father that my lovely daughter Tova was just accepted last night. Was it Stern College of YU? So she's applied to about 10 schools. That was the first she's heard from. So she's 1 for 1 with scholarships. So we're excited. And so congrats to Tova on her first acceptance.
Congratulations, Tova. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Mark, I'd like to ask you a question, and perhaps to Laura as well, especially to you, Mark. You're a sports agent. I don't know if that's been brought out. You're an attorney and a sports agent, and you definitely have your finger on the pulse of professional athletics, especially baseball. What type of challenges would you see any of your children, your baseball boys, and perhaps not Tova as much as well, moving up the ranks into competitive athletics where there are various challenges, perhaps ramped up anti-Semitism, individuals who gather together with fervent Christianity, looking at Jews in perhaps a little bit different way, paving ground that hasn't been paved before. So with your familiarity of the sports world and representing individuals who are professional athletes, what are some of your concerns as your children move into this uncharted territory?
I have zero concerns because when I became an agent, I was nervous about how the players would react to me. And I wasn't at that time wearing a yarmulke. I was keeping Shabbos. I was keeping kosher. But I could walk down the street and you didn't necessarily know that I was Jewish. And it was ironically the players of mine, my clients who I represented, who gave me the strength to become more religious. I thought to myself, how can I go into Greenville, South Carolina? How can I go into Clinton, Iowa? How can I go into Appleton, Wisconsin, places where there's very few, if any, Jews? And how can I be who I wanted to be? And if they have a choice of being with a different kind of agent who can answer the phone on Saturday, who doesn't have to schlep them to these restaurants, who doesn't have to look a little different. Well, why wouldn't they? Why would they stick with me? Why would they choose me? Well, Carlos Ruiz, a famous catcher for the Phillies, was my guy for 17 years. He's been to more kosher restaurants than probably all of you people on the Zoom together. He has his picture up in a few of the kosher restaurants. He always knew to call me on Sunday. Once I went to Lakewood, New Jersey with some Chinese food, and I visited him and a couple other players, and they looked at me and said, "Donde está tu gorra? Where's your little hat? How come you don't have your little hat on?" Okay, so then I started to realize I'm fooling myself. So because of my experiences as an agent, it was the religious Catholics and the religious Mormons and the religious Christians that were my biggest champions. Those were the guys I wanted to work with. So probably the only concern I would have, and I think my kids are steeped enough in Hasidus and in Judaism, that my only concern would be perhaps would be a missionizing person who might want to try to buddy up to them to try to get them to go to their side of things. That might be the only thing, but I really don't have too much of a concern because I think that they know who they are. And look, they've grown up in an environment where they are around non-Jews, and so they're used to explaining things and engaging with them. And also we've taught our kids to not be separate, but try to be united in this world. You can go and you can eat lunch at your non-Jewish friend's house. You absolutely can. You know what you can do? Bring your own sandwich. And you sit down and you can eat with them. Or you can find something kosher in their cabinets and make some pretzels and find some kosher hummus in their refrigerator or whatever it is, or some guacamole, sit and and be together, right? And so that's what we've always done. And we've tried to, instead of being divisive, to be together. And that's worked really well for us. And we've taught so many people about Shabbos and kosher, and they've done so many wonderful things for us in response. So I think that the world is a different place. Seinfeld has taught the whole country what a lot of Jews look like and talk like. I think the social media now, you can't make a misstep. You can't say anything that could be considered racist or anti-Semitic. Now it's all over the place. So like we always say, right? So if the coach goes into the meeting and he says to the other coaches, so look, guys, we'd like to have one Friday game a year and one Saturday game a year moved 2-3 hours in one direction. Would you mind helping us out? We got a religious kid. We'd like to have him play and experience college baseball to the fullest. So the question is, who's going to be the guy in the room and go, nope, I'm not going to help out the Jewish kid. Nope, I'm not going to do it. Because all that needs to be is recorded and put out on social media, and people lose jobs over those things these days, right? I mean, so we think the world has come to a place much more every single day where there's more acceptance, there's more I don't like the word tolerance, there's more acceptance, there's more respect. And I think that that's where we're headed.
Mark, that's a very inspiring message that you just shared with me and with all who are listening. And it sounds to me like what it is that you've said is that your observance and the observance of your family is something that the non-Jews who you've worked with, that's something that they respect because of it, they respect you. They respect your family's observance. And as non-Jews, when they see you living committed Jewish lives, that's something that they appreciate very much. So rather than thinking that they might discriminate against you for it, on the contrary, they've treated you with respect because they see that you're living proudly as Jews.
Well, and you're right. And it's also how you shape it. If you make it out to be that this is the best thing in the world, then it becomes infectious to people, right? If you say to somebody about Shabbos, oh God, I can't do this and I can't do that and I'm cooped up and blah, blah, blah. Or you shape it in terms of, I work all week to get here. I can't wait to turn my phone off. I love it. We have guests coming over. I'm going to be a guest. I bought a great bottle of bourbon whiskey. I can't wait to break into it. I'm going to get a big nap. I'm going to just sit and talk to my kids. It's the best. I can't wait for it. Then people realize who don't know about it, this is an amazing thing, right? It's how you shape the narrative. It's how you carry yourself, right? If you say, this is my program and this is how we roll and this is a good thing and God is good and this is what we're doing, people go, yep, looks good for me. Sounds good. Yeah, I wish I could do it. That's the reaction we get.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that goes back to something we said at the outset. That's the difference between somebody who looks at Judaism is something they have to do rather than something that they get to do. There's a question in the chat, and I think that this is a question to ask Tova as well, if you don't mind it being posed to all three of the Kligman kids. Would you consider Ari and Elie and Tova playing for Team Israel or Team USA in the Olympics or the World Baseball Classic or in the Maccabi games? Is that something that possibly is on the radar for you? And also asking the family in general, if you've been to Israel before, if you have any connections to the land of Israel itself. So
And
Elie,
Mark and I have been to Israel one time, long before we had children. All the kids have participated in Maccabi games, not in Israel, but over the years, wherever they've been. The boys have played baseball and Tova has done swimming, and that was a great experience for the kids. They had some really good friends, and obviously it's set up for Jews. So there's no question about Shabbos or kosher food. And you have to ask them about the other question. I would imagine it'd be yes.
Okay, Elie. So Elie and Ari, so we're gonna put you on the spot over here. So the Olympics are coming, and you have a chance to play either on USA baseball or Israel baseball team. So what are some of your thoughts as I put you both on the hot seat?
Yeah, I would definitely consider playing for Team Israel or Team USA. I don't know if I'm old enough to do that yet, but as we keep going along, hopefully that's something I get to do.
Team Israel. Ari, how about you?
Yeah, if the opportunity came along, I think I'd play for Team Israel over Team USA. I think there's a lot more pride there because that's a lot more connected with Israel. So definitely that.
Okay. Someone asked a question. Are there any other Jewish kids on your team that play? Elie and Ari.
On our high school team, we do not have. We are the only Jewish kids there. I haven't really played with many Jewish kids through the travel ball and the high school, kind of as I've gone through high school and everything. But I do know Jewish kids that do play on Friday night and Saturday, but none of them that really played on my team.
Okay, terrific. Let's just take a moment or two if anyone else has any questions that you'd like to ask, perhaps for those of you whose screen we can see, if you'd like to raise your hand, or if anyone has any questions you'd like to ask to any of the Kligman family. Rachel Pefnick. Hi there, Rachel. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, young man. Very proud of you. I have 5 grandsons of my own about your age. I was just wondering, not about baseball, but what are you, when you go to college, what else are you going to study? I know your plans are to be baseball players, but you've got 4 or 5 years of college ahead of you. And I was just wondering, does anyone have a specialty that they would think about?
For me, I have not thought that far ahead yet. I should probably start thinking about what I'm going to study. But I think Tova knows what she's going to study.
Very good. Yeah, I want to go to college and study medicine.
Very good. Very good. Very good. And Ari, what would you like to study?
So I'm really into health and nutrition and maybe kinesiology, something like that, but I have a little time to decide.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. How isn't it appropriate that a wonderful grandmother and our great grandmother in our congregation asked the kids what they're going to study? Here it is. The rabbi's talking about baseball and Rachel's asking about education, right? Okay, Rachel, you got me again. What can I say? You always want.
It's very important to me because I just believe in it. Yeah. I just had a grandson get his PhD from Harvard Friday, and he studied cancer and medicine. So it's very important to me about education.
Okay, great. Wonderful question. Rabbi Oken, it's great to have you with us. Rabbi, would you like to share some thoughts as we move towards concluding our session with the Kligman family tonight?
Absolutely. So first of all, to the Kligmans, thank you very much for making the time to come out. And this is the closest I've ever had contact with real life athletes. When I was in high school, I played second string water boy. And there was a bigger nerd in front of me. And then when I was in my senior year, I got promoted to team rabbi. So what did that mean? That meant if the hockey team was down by 1, I'd start saying Psalms. And once a team was down by 3, I'd say the Kel Mulle, the memorial prayer for the dead, and then I'd leave. Unfortunately, the hockey team was, they were shut out for the whole season. So I guess I wasn't very much of a good team rabbi, hence why I'm working in St. Louis and not for any of the major league teams. So on a serious note, I find it very inspiring that as a family, you're committed to fulfilling your potential as athletes and also living as observant Jews. The sentiment reminds me of a comment that the Rav Shamshon Raphael Hirsch made over 100 years ago in Germany, where he said that a person who lives a life as an observant Jew will not be mocked by the secular world. In fact, he or she will be respected for leading a life of conviction. So it's very interesting to me to hear that idea, spelled out in the dialogue and the back and forth of all of you sharing your experiences being athletes, trying to live the American dream of making it to the majors, as well as trying to make it in Major League Judaism, so to speak, as well. It's interesting that this is the time of year where God chose the Jewish people to have a unique relationship. Our rabbis tell us that the holiday of Passover is representative in a relationship of a man and a wife agreeing to get engaged. God looked at all the nations and he said, who can I on a national level engage with in a deeper way than just being the creator of the world? And to make a long story short, that we're all going to recount at the Seder in in relatively short amount of time. The Jewish people said, we're going to step up and we're going to have that type of relationship. And the way I understand how that was presented to the Jewish people, when the Jewish people then in the Bible state that whatever God asks us to do, we're going to do. Like, that's what a good relationship is about. Where one spouse has so much love for the other one, where they say that, whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to do it. How many times you want to take me out the garbage, do the dishes, go shopping, whatever you want, honey, I'm going to do it. And I like to give the Kligman family a blessing, a bracha, that you're all able to actualize your dreams of making it in the majors, that you're able to show the world what does it mean to be connected to God, to the point where God and Judaism come first, and our careers and our life aspirations come second, so that, we can have a stat line on a secular level that we're proud of, on a sports level that we're proud of, but also a religious stat line that we're proud of, so that we can look God in the face, when we live a life well lived, with more sports awards on our shelves than we could ever dream of. Looking God in the eye and saying, we did the best that we could. And God saying, yes, you did. So I'd like to give you a blessing that Elie in particular, but the rest of the Kligman family as well, and all of us in our own level. Maybe it's not Major League Baseball. Maybe it's, our own careers or our own lives, but that we all actualize our potential and can look God in the face and say, so to speak, we did the best that we could. And God looked back at us and say, yes, we did.
Thank you, Rabbi. Very inspiring. Well, we know that the greatest mitzvah is Kiddush Hashem, sanctifying God's name. And the way that translates is that when someone looks at us and says, such nachas, such pride in being Jews, and the Kligman family collectively, we all take great pride in you as wonderful representatives of our people and of our Torah. And we thank you, Mark and Laura and family, so much for joining us tonight. Thanks to Mike Minoff again and our Israel committee for organizing the program. And we wish everyone a Chag Kosher V'Sameach, a wonderful holiday, a holiday of freedom, and abundant success, Mark and Laura, to you and to your wonderful family. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Good luck to all of you. Yes.
Take care, everyone.
Everyone's
welcome to remain behind if you'd like to chat, but this formally ends our session tonight. Thanks so much, everyone, for being with us.